Introduction to the Life of the Queen of Heaven, giving the reason for writing it and explaining other circumstances in connection therewith. I should not be astonished to hear myself condemned as audacious, foolhardy, and presumptuous by any person who will begin to realize, if realized it can be, that I, a simple woman who is of herself but sheer weakness and ignorance, and who is, on account of her sins, most unworthy, has resolved and attempted to write of divine and supernatural things. This condemnation will be the more justified in these our present times, in which the Holy Church, our Mother, is so abundantly supplied with teachers and holy men, so rich in doctrines of the holy fathers and doctors, in this our most opportune age, when even prudent and wise persons, full of holy zeal in the spiritual life, are disturbed and troubled at the least mention of a higher life, looking upon visions and revelations as most suspicious and dangerous paths for the pursuit of Christian perfection. If no excuse can be found for such an enterprise in itself, or even for attempting things that are so far above and superior to what man can hope to compass, and so far beyond all human capacities, then we can only conclude that to undertake them is either a sign of perverse judgment or the result of an activity far surpassing all the human power. As faithful children of the Holy Church, we must confess that all the mortals, not only with the use of all their natural powers, but with the simultaneous use of all the common and ordinary graces, are but incapable and, as it were, mute and ignorant weaklings for so difficult an undertaking as to explain and describe the hidden mysteries and magnificent sacraments which the powerful arm of the Most High has wrought in the creature whom, as his mother, he has designed to be an immense ocean of grace and privilege, and the depository of the greatest treasures of the divinity. How incapable must our weakness acknowledge itself to be, when even the angelic spirits confess that words fail them when attempting to describe that which is so far above their thoughts and capacities. The life of this phoenix among the works of God is a book so sealed up that none is found among all the creatures of heaven and earth worthy to open it. It is evident then that only the powerful Lord can unseal it, he who made her more perfect than all the creatures, or she herself, the mistress, our queen and mother, who was worthy to receive and properly to appreciate her ineffable gifts. It is in her power to select suitable instruments, and such as for her glory seem capable of manifesting these gifts in the proportion, at the time, and in the manner serviceable to her only begotten Son. I would willingly maintain that these instruments can be no other than the teachers and learned saints of the Catholic Church, or the doctors of the schools who have all taught the way of truth and life. But the thoughts and the judgments of the Most High are exalted as much above our own as heaven is exalted above the earth, and no one knows his mind, and no one can counsel him in his works. He it is that holds the scales of the sanctuary in his hands, and who weighs the winds, who grasps in his hands all the orbs, and who, by the equity of his most holy counsels, disposes of all things with weight and measure, assigning to each one opportune time and place. He dispenses the light of wisdom, and by his most equitable bounty he distributes it, and no one can ascend to the heavens to draw it down, or fetch it from the clouds, or know its ways, or investigate the hidden paths thereof. He alone observes it as it is in itself, and transfuses it as the vapor and emanation of his immense charity, as the brightness of his eternal light, as the flawless reflection and image of his eternal bounty, through holy souls among the nations, in order to make them friends of the Most High and constitute them as prophets. The Lord alone knows why and for what purpose he thus prepared me, the last of his creatures, why he thus called and raised me, obliged and compelled me to write the life of his most holy mother, our Queen and Lady. It is beyond the prudent surmise of any man that, without this influence and power of the Most High, the thought of such a work should enter into a human heart, or such an enterprise should take shape in my mind. For I acknowledge and confess myself to be a weak woman, wanting in all virtue. Therefore it should be far from my thoughts to approach such a work, but equally as far from me to refuse it on my own account. In order that a just estimate may be had in this matter, I will mention in simple truth something of that which happened to me regarding this history.